Hi, everyone. We are so excited. This is episode 2 of the Her Rules, Her Rise podcast. Really excited to have you back again. I have my lovely co-host Danielle Ditburner and Dr. May Lee, and I am Dr. Ann Katona Lynn. And today's topic is from surviving to leading. And we're really going to talk about kind of those lies that we were told as girls. And so, how do we begin to heal while building the future we deserve, right? And so, one of the things that we love is that her rules, her rise is where we speak bold truth with sacred love. So, we welcome you to this. Like I said, we're talking about how we've each moved from just surviving to truly leading, and that our past doesn't define us, but it can shape our purpose if we let it. And so we're really going to kind of get vulnerable with you today as we want to share some of the things that we've grown, how we've grown, some of the tools that we've used, and some things that we have done to help ourselves. And just really want to acknowledge that healing is not linear, it is an ongoing process, and leadership is part of that healing journey. You don't have to be fixed or perfect to be
Mhm.
a leader. You can lead from any seat, no matter what your role is. You may not even consider yourself a leader. Doesn't matter. You are a leader because you influence others who are around you. So, just starting off today, one of the things that we were kind of first looking at is talking about that shift from survival. So, kind of when did we realize? So I'm posing this to my co-host. When did you realize you were meant for more than survival? So Danielle, why don't you start us off?
Mm. When did I realize that? It's such a good question. Um, I think it was after I was in such a deep survival mode
Mm,
and coming out of that experience. So I'm not going to share all of that story here
mm,
on this episode, I mean.
mm. Yeah.
We'll get into that later on, but 2017 was my dark night of the soul.
Mm,
And that was the most challenging year space that I was in. I legitimately died and came back a new person, I feel.
mm,
I had to go through a whole stripping of who I was and recognizing that I didn't see and I didn't value my own worth.
mhm,
And so it was really, I would say that first year after that was still a very new healing process for me.
mhm,
And it was during that time that I recognized I am not meant to be in survival mode. I've actually been living in survival mode for a
mhm.
majority of my life so far.
Yeah.
And it's through being able to see my purpose and how I serve others and the strength that I'm able to help them see in themselves.
Mm,
That is what allows me to thrive. That's what allows me to break these shackles of the lies that we're told so much, right?
yeah. I love that. That is so powerful, and definitely once I share mine, I definitely have some commonality. So, May, let's hear from you.
Yeah, I think when you're growing up, you're you receive certain types of messages from your parents, and that kind of programs your neurological system. So, for me, it was reflected in my personal relationships.
Mm,
So, typically, the men that I chose to get married to, and unfortunately, it ends up being the wrong type of person because of the way you're programmed.
Mhm.
So, I had a pattern where I would choose men that were unavailable or who ignored me or who dismissed me.
Hmm.
And because that's how I felt, that's what I thought love was.
Right.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, entering into the marriage and then after, having children and all that, you still feel miserable in that relationship. You feel you're not acknowledged, you're just invisible.
Mhm.
So it becomes so painful that you have to leave. And then each time you leave, you get the strength to realize what you're really worth. And so
Mhm.
for me, it was all my relationships have been a slight improvement over the one before.
Kind of that process. Yeah.
And what validation that you're growing,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And as Anne said, it's not linear. So each
That's,
one I'm making progress. So I have to give myself credit that each one is a little bit better than the one before. But hopefully, the next one will be really good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can relate to both of those. For me, it was 1998. Same thing, Danielle. Well, both of you, I went through lots of different relationships and didn't, and I have childhood trauma. There's some specific that um, caused me to end up with post-traumatic stress disorder, and I had undiagnosed ADHD. So my self-worth was just so bad. And so had so many of those revolving door relationships, and I was so needy. I didn't even, now I don't recognize myself then. For
Mhm.
me, it was a major breakup, and I went to a singles retreat and like a weekend retreat. And during that weekend, we had to either write a letter to ourselves or forgiving someone else. And I bawled, I bawled. And so for me, that was kind of just the beginning. And yes, it was a process. But that was, yeah, so 1998, June of 1998, I remember it well. And it had a huge impact on my life. Again, not linear, but that was the start.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of that was the first turning point, and
Yeah.
as May you shared, it's there are multiple turning points, and it kind of we just kind of go back and forth. So it really is
Yeah.
that I can so relate to that.
Yeah. I'm almost hearing in all of this that like those were the spaces that created that fertile ground for our growth.
Mm,
Mhm.
yeah.
And as both of you were sharing, May, whenever you were saying I didn't realize my worth, and Anne, whenever you were talking about the retreat,
Mhm.
I got filled with tingles. Tingles for me, for everybody listening in. Like that's my intuitive, soulful connection
Mm,
confirmation.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, I love that. And just kind of looking back too, like when you think about what helped you begin your transformation and transforming your pain into that leadership, can you think of specific tools or specific moments? Like I did share the retreat, but there were some specific things. So,
Mhm.
Danielle, you want to go ahead and share your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, yeah. Um, a big one for me, my clients. My clients, being able to serve others in the midst of pain
Mm,
and recognizing because there was a lie that I told myself that I have to be healed, I have to be whole before I can serve others, before I can help people. So untrue,
yes.
right? So untrue.
Yeah.
That's how that's not only, but that is such a big tool in how we heal. And
Mm-hmm.
that goes back to that leadership concept, right? In
Mm-hmm.
the work that I do, I am a healer.
Yeah.
I'm in the world of development, of spiritual growth, mental growth, emotional growth, physical growth, just growth of a being, our
Yeah.
consciousness. And instead of listening to that lie, I said, even if it's one person,
Mm,
even if I'm not getting paid, which was really tough,
Yeah.
that's what allowed me to really show up and go, wait, I can heal and I can do this work too.
Hmm.
I don't have to choose one or the other.
Yeah. And you kind of brought up a topic that we'll definitely have to dive into on a later episode about getting paid and also getting paid what you're worth. Because I know we have all struggled with that, and that kind of comes back to that. So yeah, that I love the serving piece of it. That's so awesome, Danielle.
Yeah.
May, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, the um, my transformation came through writing, and it
Mm,
was in a surprising way because um, I decided I wanted to write a chapter of a book series. And the first time I wrote it, it was all about my childhood and it was all negative and it was all accusatory.
Mhm.
And I looked at it and I said, this is so depressing. Who's going to want to
mm,
read your life story that sounds like that? And so then I rewrote it in a positive way of everything that I gained from my childhood and my parents.
mm,
And it was published in a anthology. But wouldn't you believe it? You wouldn't believe it, but I afterwards I was freed. I had changed the story that I made up from my life.
Mhm.
Instead of being negative and victimized and, misunderstood, I
Mhm.
appreciated what I got from my parents. And that freed me in a way I never expected.
Yeah. I'm
wow.
I'm
You
smiling so
rewrite that
much.
story. It's a story we make up,
Yeah.
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 Yep.
and it can keep you trapped or it can liberate you.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
And
I want to remind or I just want to pause for a second. This was at least a year or two ago. There was a conversation that just May and I were having, and you shared that story with me.
mm,
And I just remember at that time, you were catching yourself in one of those negative
mm,
versus positive thought patterns.
mm,
And that's why you were bringing it up, is you were like, oh, wait, I have to remember to come back to this
Exactly.
tool.
yeah.
And I just remember you called yourself out on that, and you did such a course correct in that moment that you changed, you instantly changed,
My,
Hmm.
and you
my
haven't
whole
gone back
demeanor
to that.
probably changed, right? Your whole energy.
Right.
And real quick, it doesn't happen all 100% overnight.
Mhm.
And so I had residual, resentment and anger towards my mother.
Mm,
So recently I went back to John Bradshaw's book called Homecoming. And
mm,
there's exercises in there. Every one of his paragraphs was so meaningful to me. But I wrote another one. I wrote a letter to my mom because she's passed away. And I did all my venting towards her.
wow.
And it just released me because all that energy you hold in your mind about, the anger and the resentment is taking up real estate in your brain and holding you back from
Yeah.
releasing that energy, which you can put
Mhm.
towards something really positive to push yourself forward and become a true leader in this world.
Yeah. Our thoughts influence our feelings, and our feelings influence our actions. It's the
Yes.
cycle.
Yeah.
And when we wreck it, and so what, Danielle, you use serving and kind of and saying yes to coaching when it scared you,
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
doing it and putting it out there. And so, and reframing the things. And for me, it was therapy, so formally doing therapy and my faith at that moment and writing because it was, that journaling piece and you may write letters and may I love that you wrote to your mom. I wrote a letter, again, I wrote a letter for giving someone else and I wrote a letter to myself for giving myself and I bawled.
Yes.
So and for me the message was clear, like it felt like God gave me a crystal clear message. It's you've tried,
Yes.
because I'm like, why is this happening now? What's going on? Because I was all of a sudden having panic attacks and I'm like, what the heck? And it was because I stopped drinking and I, was focusing on my healing and my wellness and I wasn't dating. And so I kind of wanted to have a shift and it brought up a lot of stuff. And so from that, though, I was like, why is this happening? And it was God's like, you've tried doing this on your own your entire life. Now it's time to do it with my help and professional help and a community. Again, this is why the three of us are doing this, is because when we share with each other, we can all relate. And it's kind of a therapy for us. We do get to process, and we don't enable each other. That's what I love too. Like we can lovingly, kind of share something, it just is amazing. Again, as we have more conversations, you all will hear some of the dynamics, but it again, having that community of the three of us along with all the other community and asking for help. I think one of the big things is that we don't, women especially, are not good about asking, you have to take care of it yourself. You have to be in charge of it. You have to do everything. And
You have to
you
be the strong one.
and stay down here, like do as you're told. Keep your head down, do as you're told, and be nice and all of those things. So, which kind of brings me to the next part of this, which is, you know, how did you begin stepping into your leadership before feeling fully healed? It's kind of that next level of normalizing that leading while you're still growing.
Mhm.
So thinking about imposter syndrome, that vulnerability and community that we've talked about.
Mhm. For me, I would say I had to be really honest with myself and acknowledge where I felt were real shortcomings, not just those lies,
Mhm.
but real shortcomings, and saying, okay, so I'm not there yet. That's okay.
Yeah.
Only way to get there
Hmm.
is to continue to take action and to take action that's aligned with my values, with my purpose, what I'm creating in this world.
Hmm.
And to that point, when we all first met at the writing workshop, the thing that really kept me in alignment with my purpose was I had the courage to stand up and speak out about, yes, I was able to write 4,000 words the day before, but I had to call myself out because I shrunk myself.
Mm.
I wasn't showing up. I wasn't having conversations with people. And I said, that wasn't my intention in coming here.
Hmm.
And so when we're on break, please, if I don't approach you and you want to talk to me, please approach me. I was
Mm.
in a trauma space
Yeah.
and I had to
Protecting
call
yourself.
yeah, I had to call myself out of that. And after that, that's how all of us started to have conversations.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't have had the courage to call myself out and to share that in a communal setting, we wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And you started this whole group, again, stepping out. So that's so awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
What about you, May?
Definitely growing up with the mantra to be seen and not heard, right? To be obedient, to be quiet. If you speak up, you're talking back, whatever your mom and dad say, you have to do it, right? So there's this little voice inside of me that all of you have. You need to listen to it. It's like, maybe I could be a writer.
Mm.
Maybe I could be a speaker. But then you're like, no,
Yeah.
nobody's going to listen to you, right? Nobody wants to hear what you have to say. But that voice, you must listen to it and you must take action.
Yeah.
So I got lots of help. I joined this writing course to give me support.
Hmm.
And the first time it was like write for 5 minutes, and it was just so daunting, right? To even put words down on a blank piece of paper. But each day I did it, I did it, I did it. And after a while, that muscle starts to grow. And then you start to figure out, and then one day in one weekend, I could write a couple thousand words, right?
Yeah.
As writers, we count the number of words.
Yeah.
Um, and soon, before I knew it, I had a book, with 40,000 words. And then the next thing you know, it was published. And now it's on Amazon. It has got hundreds of positive reviews. So it's exactly that is step by step. You've got to listen to your voice, push yourself forward, even though you're scared, and
Yeah.
you just got to talk back to that negative voice that says you can't do it, you don't know how,
Yeah.
and get help from the community, which
Mhm.
is so valuable.
Yeah, because we've each talked us out of our own negative self-talk, like no, don't listen to that.
Don't
So I
listen to
love
it.
that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Listen to the opposite.
yep, exactly. I know for me, again, I'm pretty outgoing, though it's the vulnerability because I spent so much of my life acting like everything was fine and nothing was wrong. It
Mhm.
was being vulnerable, and I had to be present for myself. That was kind of that first step, and not worrying about what everybody else was saying. And it was like, again, the writing, going to therapy and talking about it. Writing, it kind of, when I was writing my book, it was, oh my goodness, I'm putting this on paper and I'm putting it out there for
Mhm.
everyone to read. It's like I have to let it go. And it was like, okay, just do it. Just do it. Get it out there. And I listened to a lot of Brene Brown stuff. I was doing a lot of traveling too, and I was listening to lots of audiobooks and just really hearing about a lot of my own struggles in so many of these stories that others. So again, when people are sharing their stories and they think their story isn't important, and May, after reading yours and Danielle, and it's like, man, when you hear other people's stories, that's when you feel the most connected and have community. So it's it's powerful. And you know, so that was a big thing is and doing presentations and trainings because I work with schools and I was doing a lot around trauma sensitive schools. I was state project director for Safe Schools Healthy Students, and trauma was coming in to a lot of what we were doing. And I'm like, oh, this is totally my wheelhouse. So I started doing trainings and I shared my story, which again was scary. And I'm like, I can't think about it. I just have to do it. And I had so many people in the training who came up to me and said, "Thank you so much." I mean, I had a school police officer, reach out to me and stay on a Zoom. This was during COVID, say that they struggle with PTSD, and so many people. And since I've published my book, I same thing. I had people reach out to me. I'm like, I have no idea, and they'll say your book really had an impact on me. So again, we just don't realize, yes, they're going to be naysayers. It's We can't really pay attention to that, right?
Mhm.
We have to focus on what is our gut. And definitely for me, it's like God talking to me, and I need to be present with myself first so that I can actually hear that and
Yeah.
take quiet time. I did a lot of meditation, really being quiet. And, we don't want to wait to be perfect. It doesn't happen.
Mhm.
We evolve. And so we rise while still holding our scars. I love that. And like for me, I went through a windshield when I was 4, and I still have the scars. And, you don't see them very well. And if I ever tell anybody when I'm in person and they're like, I can barely see them. And I remember my sister-in-law said, "Oh, you can get those fixed." And I was like, they're kind of part of who I am, and I'm proud of them. like they're my battle scars, and I've survived and I'm stronger. So we don't have to really kind of get stuck in that. It's this is that lie that you know we have to worry about our looks, and for girls it's about weight. We have to weigh a certain thing. Like there's so much. And what happens, and that I've really found, is that we're so focused on what not to do that we struggle with doing things that are actually going to improve us and help us move towards our goals, So,
Mhm.
like just eating healthy and exercising, which is good for our mental and physical and spiritual, being quiet, journaling, all of those things are going to help us reach goals in every aspect of our life. But if we're focused on the what not to do and the negative and punishing ourselves all the time, then we're never gonna really reach those goals, you know? And it's this is kind of the power of I love the three of us just getting together because we're like, we talked about doing a podcast and here we are. Yes, we're doing it. We're
Mhm.
we're not worried about what we can't do. We're just focused on what we can.
Yeah.
So, it's so let's think about let's just share some practical tools. So, what's one way someone can start building their future while still healing? Talked about a
Hmm.
few things, but what are kind of your takeaways as we wrap up?
I'm going to sidestep because I always say journaling. Journaling, like I am such a huge proponent, but we've covered that already.
Yeah,
So outside of that,
yeah,
quiet time, I think that is something that is really challenging for everybody because when you get quiet, we're afraid of what's going to come up.
hmm
Mm,
So just having
yeah,
quiet time and just being present with that, holding
yeah,
space. You don't have to do anything about it. You
yeah,
don't have to change anything.
yeah,
Just be present.
yeah. And feel your emotions. We
Yeah.
often want to
yeah.
shut them down, and that's
Yeah.
perfect. That's what that's what you're saying. That's great. What
Yeah.
about you, May?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely listen to that self-talk because this little voice going in the background can be very annoying and very detrimental to your progress. So
Yeah,
if you don't tune into it, you'll just let it run and it'll keep you stuck.
yeah,
So listen to what it's saying. It's probably saying something negative and holding you back. And then reverse it, do the opposite, and stop it. If it's saying something like you don't want to hear, it's not helping you. It's not
yeah,
the truth.
right.
Don't believe it. Challenge it.
Yeah.
And pretty soon that voice goes away and something new comes up. I've caught
Yeah.
myself doing it I argue with myself and that's not true. And I'm like,
Ah.
yay, yay, that little voice got put down.
Oh, that's so great. And forgive yourself for believing that lie. And then
Yeah.
what you said, May, it's shifting it to the positive. This is the
Yeah,
truth.
do the
That
opposite. Yeah,
again,
it's not
uh,
the truth.
right. This is that, yeah, I forgive myself for believing that lie. And this is the real truth. So
Yeah.
I love that. Love that. Yeah, for me, journaling again, I think one of the big things is identifying healthy boundaries. What are those things that I'm okay with and not okay? And as I said, I kind of went in a really hardcore direction. Like I became a vegetarian, I quit drinking, I was celibate. I'm like for 7 years. I
Hmm.
went monastic, but it was powerful. It was what I needed. I needed to
Yeah.
have really strong boundaries so that God could kind of influence me to have more positive boundaries and not just they're not walls. It's about, no, I'm not going to say yes to every single thing. I'm going to pause and say, you know what? I don't think I can do that. I'm going to look at my schedule and really pay attention to those things, which if you're present with yourself, then you're going to be able to do those things.
Hmm.
So,
There
so
was kind of a trifecta there. Like if you pause and you're present to yourself,
yeah,
you listen to that small voice
yeah,
and heed the advice that it is taking or giving you.
hmm
That's going to enable you to really decide what boundaries you need
hmm
to
yeah,
help yourself lead your life the way you want to.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's so powerful. And, as we kind of wrap up this episode, I want you to think that remember that you are not here just to survive. You are here to rise. And it's going to be different for every one of you. And so we want you to think about what would it look like to lead from your healing instead of your hurt? Thinking about what were some of the strategies that you heard and share on social media. We now have Facebook, and share, in our comment on our videos.
Mhm.
Maybe direct message us or send us emails. And we're going to share again more how you can reach out to us and, tag the show. And we're just really grateful that you are with us. And we look forward to the next episode, which is going to be, we're really, really going to get into some big lies, talking about lies. We kind of connected already, and we're going to be talking to those lies a little bit more, that girls are told. And that's the next episode. Can't wait to see you all then. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.